Jim, our greeters on there. Jim, will one of you do the flag salute?
I would be happy to, Richard. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. I don't know what we have on the screen right now.
Interesting.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, again, we're trying to do the like flag salute and five-way test with just the one individual. We're utilizing the greeters to do that, and we're trying to have John mute the other folks so there's not a whole bunch of feedback or other things going on there. So any visiting Rotarians? So greeters, Jim and Sonia, do we have any visiting Rotarians today?
We do not that I see yet.
Okay. How about guests? Any guests here today?
Not that I have seen, although welcome, David.
Good. Oh yeah, John, David, I got him the link this morning, but I'm sure that you've done and added those folks, the new members that as we've grown here lately. So thank you for doing that. So I wanted to just go over a couple of things, and then we've got a great program and allow a little time for announcements. And so first off, I want to make sure we've got the DAC-DB, and that's something that Jim works on regularly, but I think that there may be some emails that may need to be updated, possibly some phone numbers. And also I'd like to get, if you don't have a profile picture, I know there's a few folks that don't have a picture on there. So, if you get an opportunity, visit that and or check in with Jim, and we can see if we can get those things updated.
50-50,
and we'll work on that. And then I've got, I want to make sure we're going to do past presidents meeting again next week, and I'll have John do a Zoom for that. So I'll work with him to make sure all the folks that are past presidents or interested or friends of past presidents, which may include Jim and Sonia periodically. So we'll make sure you get a link there to help get some input and feedback and help get some ideas of what's working and what's not, or what you did or what you would like to have seen, those kinds of things. Next, I'm going to have John run a quick video. So I gave him a video to run, and this is something that's coming up lately. And when I hear these terms, which is equity and equality, it's not new, but it certainly is relevant. And when we think about what we say with, is it fair to all concerned? This is something I think gives you a good example to understand what the differences are and how they relate. But I think it's something very relevant. And so I'd like him to go ahead and hit play on this. And it's a quick video. We're not asking for a whole lot of commentary, but just so it kind of resonates. So if somebody says, hey, what does that mean? You'll have at least an example. So go ahead, John.
Today, we are talking about equity and equality. But you might be wondering, wait, aren't these the same thing? They look the same. They sound similar. So aren't they the same? No, in fact, they're really different concepts, even though a lot of us get the two confused. So let's break them down. You probably already know what we mean when we say equality. We're talking about two things that are the same or have a similar value. When we treat two people or two groups of people equally, we make sure that they have or get the same things. For example, if I want to give Betty some apples, then I need to give Ben the same number of apples to treat them with equality. Along the same lines, if I want to give the nursing program a budget increase, then I need to make sure that I give the culinary arts program the same budget increase to treat them with equality. That makes sense. But that's not the same thing as equity. Equity can be defined as giving everyone what they need to be successful. In other words, it's not giving everyone the exact same thing. And here's where the difference between equity and equality really come in, because it's important to remember that if we give everyone the exact same thing, expecting that we'll make people equal, it assumes that everyone started out in the same place. So here's an example. In this instance, We give everyone the exact same box. We treat them with equality so that they can see over the fence. Well, that's great for the person on the left because they were already taller, but it's not so great for the person on the right who still can't see over the fence. From an equity perspective, we wouldn't want everyone to have the same size box because everyone isn't the same height to start out with. With an equity mindset, we would get everyone what they need to raise them up to the same level. Here's another example. With equality in mind, we can treat everyone the same and give them all the same bike, but that doesn't really help the person on the left who can't ride that kind of bike, or the person in the middle that is too small for that bike. So when we think about this situation with equity in mind, equity tells us that we need to give everybody a different kind of bike so they can all enjoy a bike ride. As you might guess, this is where the concept of fairness gets tricky for some folks. We often think that being fair means that everybody gets the same thing, and that's what we were taught when we were growing up. But fairness really only works when we're all the same to start out with. So this is a new idea for many of us to think about. There is this great American saying that people just need to work hard enough and pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. It's this idea that everyone can be successful if you just work hard enough. Well, that's a lot easier to do when some of us were born with longer arms to pull up those bootstraps, or maybe we were given longer bootstraps when we bought our boots. So let's think about moving away from the bootstrap idea and instead think about shoes. There is a quote by Nahid Dasani that goes, "Equality is giving everyone a shoe, but equity is giving everyone a shoe that fits."
Did that not work?
No, the slides didn't work, but those examples can create a pretty good visual. So I think it's worth looking up. It's a video my daughter shared with me, and it's something that I'm trying to really grasp that concept. Again, very relevant and trying to understand those things, but it's worth looking up afterwards. If you just put those terms in, there's many examples. And again, this one was a couple years old, so it's not a new concept, but it certainly is being more in our forefront and something that we really need to examine and understand, that we have a clarity on what that looks like. So I wanted to make sure and share that again. Is there any comments? I welcome any quick comments on that. Okay, yeah, no problem. If you get time, take a look at that.
Richard,
Okay,
I'll send out the link after the meeting.
Wonderful. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Next, I want to talk to, I think Laura Kimberly is going to be our history minute. So is Laura on here?
Laura had a quick phone call, but I can quickly fill in for her. Let's see, where is it? Okay, so on this day in 1776, the Second Colonial Congress made the term United States official, replacing the United Colonies. And on September 9th, on this day in 1850, California officially became the 31st state of the Union. And in 1945, the Second Sino-Japanese War between China and Japanese formally ended when 1 million Japanese troops surrendered to China.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. And thanks for filling in. I also, since I haven't seen you in a while, we've got a folder for you. So you officially have now become a blue badge member. So congratulations.
Hey, awesome.
I'll get this to you next time I see you, or I try to get it to you very, very soon. So appreciate you doing that and then filling in. That's a little extra credit there for your in your favor there. So wonderful job there.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's I know there's a couple announcements and I kind of cut Sylvia off. So I want to let Sylvia go ahead and announce about community service real quickly here.
Well, first, thank you for the support for Habitat for Humanity, or excuse me, for Grace Wins. That's slipping. We ended up raising about $550 in money and goods for that. And the vast majority of it, over $400, was in money. So they can spend that however they see fit, which is awesome. Our September project on the 25th will be joining Salves Beach Cleanup and Riverside Cleanup. They've now added Riverside to the title. Rather than just pick one spot or assign locations, I'd like you to figure out where the best place is for you and your family, a patch of beach or part of the bay. I found often it isn't right on the water's edge, but in the brush, you know, or the beach grass where you actually find the leftover fireworks and barbecue stuff. And please let Jim know if you put in some time on that. He'll be able to give us an idea how many Rotarians participated and put in time. And when you do that, of course, you'll get a makeup credit. So look forward to having some participation there. And if you go to the more popular spots, maybe we'll see you there. If somebody has a spot that they'd like to have a bunch of us show up, do inform the group. So thanks for the help. And that will be September 25th, Salve Beach Cleanup.
Wonderful, Sylvia. I know Amy was doing some work on it, or she made an announcement at our board meeting. Amy, is there anything else that we need to hear about that, or any other details that you wanted to add in?
Yes, I just sent John Zagel the link. I was encouraging people to do the Hatfield cleanup that is going to be organized and will meet at the yacht club. Because I participated in this last time, it's actually along the bay and the river. And I found it to be a quite different experience than doing the beach cleanup. And we collected, I think, 1,600 pounds just from that. And then we also we're collecting yellow rope for a study that the elementary kids are doing about fishing gear. So I thought it was a fun one to do. So I just sent John that link if you want to sign up for that particular one.
Wonderful. Thanks, Amy. Appreciate that. Okay, next up, any other quick member announcements? Anything else that we want to make sure and hear of so we don't forget?
I had one more thing.
Go ahead.
So a former Rotarian from the Newport Club just recently passed away, and he is also the grandfather of Autumn Baloney. I think you might remember Aaron. He's the Newport Middle School principal, but Autumn's grandfather's name is Don Butch. He was the mayor of Newport at one time. He also was a House representative from this area, and he's responsible for putting all of the holes in Highway 101 for the flags. And so they are going to be interning him this Monday as a family, but I just thought it was worth mentioning. He was a pretty fantastic guy.
Thanks for sharing that. And I know in the past we've had, or last year when we were doing Zoom, we were doing a lot of the electronic cards. And I wonder if that wouldn't be a good idea for this, because certainly a pillar in the community and somebody that put their time in. So I think that'd be great. And if we could maybe have John coordinate that or work on that, that'd be wonderful.
Sure, I'll work with Amy on that. I don't know where to send that. So once we get it, so I'll send that out today also.
Perfect. And that kind of outreach, I think, is wonderful. And the more that we do that, and I know we're working with members that are missing, and I know Mark mentioned that we want to check in on John Baker and Bill Bain. So again, they are kind of out of touch, and I think Lola offered or volunteered to do that. So if you run across them in the grocery store, hey, how you doing, or what's going on, or anything, you're keeping up with things, or whatever that looks like. So appreciate
Richard,
that. Yeah.
Richard, I saw John Baker today at a city meeting I was at.
Oh, good. Okay, Dave. Thanks.
And he seemed to be doing fine.
Good to hear that report. So wonderful.
And we talked about Rotary, and so.
Thanks for doing that. And again, those are key things. People aren't doing their old habits, and so we might not be crossing paths as much as we were or had been. So wonderful in that. Good to hear that he's out and about. Okay, I was going to have Sergeant at Arms up next. So Bob, have you got some stuff for us here?
Lost for words. Can you hear me?
I can now, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to ask Samantha how Thunder's doing. But Sonetta has muted herself.
There.
There you go.
My laptop is old. Apologies. Everything is super slow. He's doing great. Thank you for asking. Growing like a weed. He's
Well,
much quieter, a little less active today than he was last week.
Well, that's wonderful. That's very, very wonderful. And then I was surprised to see the Thompsons. We haven't seen them. I heard they went for a walk. Thompsons, Amy.
Yes, we've been here. I just wasn't here last week.
Oh, yeah.
We did. We went for a little walk in the woods.
And tell us about the walk in the woods.
Well, we hiked 66 miles of the PCT with 2 of our daughters and a couple friends. And so maybe it was absolutely gorgeous, by the way, and a really neat experience and something we've always wanted to do. What do you think? $33 to our Paul Harris?
Sure,
piece?
that sounds good to me. And Bob, I think I should share as well that I've had a chance to talk to your son, Rob, recently, because Thompson Sanitary is buying large quantities of organic, locally sourced crushed rock. There are little piles of that stuff all around us out here.
We love it.
At our world headquarters. And so I think it's great. It's really good, uniform. The color, I love the color. Colors, it comes in multiple colors. I'm sorry. Yeah, you should talk to Rob.
Was that from Road and Driveway?
It was from Road and
that's
Driveway,
right.
and their drivers have been great. Rob has been great. You should ask Rob about his summiting of numerous Cascade Mountains this summer. I mean, not just 1 or 2, several.
You know, I hate to interrupt you, but I'm in charge of this thing.
I hijacked you for a minute. I'm
That's
sorry.
got nothing to do with your walk.
No.
Hey, Bob, isn't this the second meeting in a row for these paid advertisements?
I'm lost. Like I said, I'm lost for words today. All right, so you 2 are paying how much?
We'll each pay $33 to our Paul Harris. That adds up to 66.
Okay, and Rob Wienert for selling rock and trying to put food on this table, we'll charge him $50. How's that?
I like it a lot, Bob. Thank you.
Yeah, justice. Is Julie Hannaran here today? Julie?
I'm here. I'm multitasking, Bob, so I'm not going to show you my picture.
You can't do that, Julie.
Working.
Aren't you having a birthday tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
And what are you going to do for excitement?
I think I'm going to, have you ever heard of the Vernonia Bike Trail?
No.
I'm going to take the day off, and I've ridden half of it before, but if the smoke isn't too bad, I'm going to go ride the whole thing.
Now, ride the whole thing. What does that mean?
So it's a trail that used to be a railroad, and they took it out and made it a bike trail.
Oh.
And I did about 34 miles. I turned around partway and came back. So I didn't get to the end. So I'm going to try to make the end if it's not too smoky.
Oh, yeah. So is Mark going with you?
I hope so. He's trying to get his work done today so that he can, I think he's going to be able to, because I think Ursula isn't working on your bathroom, and he's trying to get plumbers in there today so he wouldn't have to meet them tomorrow.
Now, who does he work for?
He's working for Ursula right now.
Oh, I see. Ursula Construction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can we get back to your birthday?
I know. I was trying to sidetrack you.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, once something's in there, it's trapped. So let's get back to the birthday. What are we going to do about that?
I don't know. Why don't you guess at how old I am? And if you're right, then I'll pay that.
25.
Oh, Sorry, that was wrong, but I'll pay 25. Now, how about I'll do $61 to my next Paul Harris. So I'll be 61.
Oh my God, you don't look a day over 25.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's very nice.
Jim Graham, I think you need to document that somewhere in the Rotary history that Bob paid me a compliment. That's never happened before.
Julie, I don't know how you can say that, but
He's
yeah,
a
go
kinder,
ahead,
gentler
Jim.
Bob Winger.
Document it. Hmm.
But and then aren't you missing Kathy Heater's birthday?
Say that again.
Wasn't there someone else's birthday this week?
Well, Kathy Heaters, and we're going to talk to Dave on what he did for that, because hers was a couple of days ago. Dave, why are you covering yours?
Bob, I'm here. I was, I paid that fine last week.
The fine, don't make it sound like a fine. All I'm asking is, what did you do for Kathy's birthday?
I took Kathy out to a local restaurant here with a beautiful view over the bay, and we had a nice dinner together. And yeah, so then a few days later, we went over to some friend's house and had a little small COVID-friendly party, and yeah, it was nice.
Did you give her a gift of some sort, like a diamond or?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I gave her a Peloton treadmill.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's a diamond in the dark. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For when the rain comes and we can't walk outside anymore.
Uh-huh. Are you going to use it also?
Of course.
Oh, I mean, I don't think you need it, but.
Oh,
maybe,
well, thank you.
Maybe you want to document that too, Jim, if you don't mind.
Hey, I'll give $5 to my Paul Harris for that compliment. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Are there any other happy bucks out there? Any birthdays? Nobody's happy about anything. You Oregon Ducks ought to be real happy. But we'll see what happens Saturday. Okay, well, with that, I'll just turn it back over to Richard, and thank you, Rotarians, for your generosity.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that every week. That really helps out and drives, our foundation in those things that we want to do and how we want to participate. So next, I'd like to have Laura Kimberly introduce our program, as she's probably the nearest and dearest to the program. So Laura, if you'll take it away.
So our presenter today is MaryKay Dahlgreen, who's the Lincoln County Library District Director. And she's worked in libraries, I don't know how many years, MaryKay, because you're only 29, right? For a number of years. Mm-hmm. And today she's going to talk to the Rotary Club about the Lincoln County Library District, what they do and the services that they provide.
Thank you, Laura. First of all, I want to thank Richard for sharing the video about equity. I think that's a word that's on everybody's minds a lot lately, and I appreciate. And having judged Daisy in some of her 4-H speeches, I'm guessing that she is. I'm not a bit surprised that she gave that to you to read or to look at. I'm not a bit surprised. That is a bright young girl who is a bright young woman who is going to go places. So, well, I have to admit, I'm a little intimidated by my audience today. The movers and shakers of Newport. So I hope that you will be kind to me as I provide some information about the Lincoln County Library District. As Laura said, I've been a librarian for a long time. I've been a librarian for probably 40 years now. And for the last 3 years, I've been the director of the Lincoln County Library District. And John, can you put my slides up?
That working?
Yeah, there's some
of it.
Is some of it censored?
Well, just the misspellings.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. So Lincoln County Library District, how many of you, well, it's not going to work with Zoom, so I'm not even going to ask that question, but the Lincoln County Library District, if you could go to the next slide, John.
Trying.
So the Lincoln County Library District was created in 1988. The Lincoln County Board of Commissioners formed the district to provide library services in accordance with the revised statutes, Oregon revised statutes. The boundaries were Lincoln County, except for the cities of Lincoln City, Newport, Toledo, Depot Bay, Yachats, and Waldport. So that, of course, means everybody who lives outside of city limits, and that is our service population, and that is who we serve. In November of 1990, the voters approved a permanent tax base. It was a set amount at that time, and I think you probably all remember Measure 5 and the property tax relief. And so it was a set amount originally, but now it's 0.2465 per thousand. So if you are in the Lincoln County Library District and are a taxpayer, you pay that amount per thousand for library services. In May of 1992, the voters of cities of Waldport and Depot Bay annexed into the district. As you probably know, Waldport does have a library. Depot Bay does not have a library. And then in 2009, voters approved a 9 cents per thousand 5-year local option levy. That's been renewed through 2025, which I can't believe that I'm still going to be alive in, well, I hope I'm still going to be alive in 2025. But so that means that our tax base is about 33 cents per thousand. And I want to tell you what we do with that 33 cents per thousand. So, John, can you?
Is that right?
Yep, that's right. So we actually only run the Siletz Library. The Driftwood, Toledo, Newport, Waldport are all city libraries. So they have city funding. And then essentially what we do is we give them money from the tax base so that they will provide library services for people who don't live in their jurisdiction. You'll see that I've included the Gwynn Library at Hatfield Marine Science Center and the Oregon Coast Community College Library. We do not provide them with funds, but I consider them partner libraries because we all do work together as much as we possibly can. And then the little district office, the cute little district office that you are more than welcome to come visit me. It's at 132 Northeast 15th. So I love to have visitors because most of the time I'm here by myself. So if, John, if you could give us the next slide. So one of the downsides of the Lincoln County Library District is that we are not a completely unified district at this point. There are two ways to access library materials if you are in Lincoln County. One of them is what we call ocean books, which is the Driftwood Public Library, the Newport Public Library, and the Tillamook County Library. And then the Chinook Library Network, which is Siletz, Waldport, Toledo, Oregon Coast Community College, Tillamook Bay, and Clatsop Community College. So in a perfect world, and in a world that I hope we will have within the next year or two, there would be one library card for everybody in Lincoln County. That is not the way it is right now, but everybody in Lincoln County except Yachats, because they chose not to participate, everybody in Lincoln County can get an Ocean Books library card and a Chinook Library Network card. So that way you can have access to all of the materials in all of those catalogs, in addition to being able to the libraries also provide interlibrary loan service. So I was going to show you my library cards, but I didn't take them out. So I would recommend that if you want access to library materials, that you perhaps go to one of the Chinook library networks and get a card there, and then go to one of the Ocean Books libraries, so that you'll be able to reserve materials online and have access to all of those materials. So next slide, please, John. So when I started here at the library district in 2018, one of the things that I felt was really important, and my board felt was really important, was the fact that libraries are changing. The year and a half, 2 years of the pandemic have also changed library services. And it's really important to have a plan of how you're going to move forward. I think, as we all know, that life is what happens when you have a plan. But we did put together a strategic plan. We based it on a community profile that was created by Lily Caranzi, who is staff at Newport Public Library. And she was, at the time, a master's student at the Information School at the University of Washington. And she did an excellent job of pulling together information about the county. Our next step in the strategic plan was to get some community feedback. That was very, very difficult last summer. We wanted to, as you know, the county includes not just the cities on the coast, but there are a number of communities east of 101 that are also included in the county. And my goal was to go and do community meetings, and that didn't occur. But we scaled that back. We did some surveys, we did some interviews. And then in March of 21, the strategic plan was adopted by the Lincoln County Library District Board. And the board is made up of 5 elected members. They have to be electors they have to be electors in the district. So, for example, somebody who lives in Newport can't be a district board member, which sometimes makes it difficult for us to locate people who are willing to run for those positions. And we have five kind of districts. We have the north part of the county, we have the east part of the county, the kind of the Newport-ish area, Newport, Depot Bay, Seal Rock area, Waldport. So those are the areas that are represented on our board. So in the strategic plan, next slide, please. The board wanted to, because the district is it's not quite as clear-cut as some library districts are. I think that a lot of you know of library districts where they're very unified. Well, this is a federated library district. So what is it that the Lincoln County Library District can and should do? And our first task was to what do we want to see? I mean, I'm sure all of you have done enough strategic planning in your lives that, the vision is not something that we're going to see this week or next month. And so we really wanted the board was envisioning collaborative and innovative library services. And we wanted to, because we don't run the libraries, we wanted to be able to connect. So you'll see that connect is a word that is, I use that word a lot. We use that word a lot. And then our mission, of course, is that's something that's more concrete. It's something that we can hope to achieve. And so the Lincoln County Library District provides leadership to assure equitable, and there's that word, equity, equitable services and materials for the libraries and residents of the district. So we essentially are serving the residents of the library district, which is about half, the district is about half of it's about 15,000 people, I believe. So we are looking to provide leadership and materials for the libraries and the residents of the district because, and we put libraries in there because that's how our residents access materials and services. So next slide. So again, as I mentioned before, rural library services are difficult because of, for a lot of reasons, but the connections, while the connections are deep and strong, in some cases, in some ways, it's hard to connect in the kind of community, the kind of district where we live, where we don't have great transit service. We have a pretty high poverty rate. And so what is it that the library districts can do to connect those libraries? Because the city libraries don't have the, they're supposed to be serving the city patrons. They're not supposed to be, their funding doesn't provide for them to serve serve everybody in the county. So we pay them essentially to help us serve those people. So our first goal is under the district as connector is that district residents will have improved access to library materials delivered to their local libraries. And it's such, at this point in time, it's such a basic service that if you live in Salves, you don't have to drive to Newport to get materials. Or if you live in Lincoln City, you don't have to drive to Waldport in the middle of summer to get a book that Waldport has. So we have a courier service that runs every day, 5 days a week, goes to all the libraries. And our first objective was to get a new courier van, and we did that in March. And there you'll see a picture of it. It's got a lovely logo on it. And you will see our very courteous and very friendly courier drivers driving that. And it goes from Lincoln City. We pick up materials from Tillamook as well. So again, you have access to all of those materials. Our next objective is updating the funding formula and intergovernmental agreements between the district and the cities. And that is very much, it hasn't been updated in years, in a number of years. And so the board is just starting on working on the funding formula, because how do we equitably provide funding to the libraries when we don't exactly know who uses which library, or people use multiple libraries. So currently the formula is based on circulation of materials and budget. And that means that if you have if your expenditures are lower, then you get less money from the district. So it's kind of that bootstraps thing of the equity of how do we help people improve? How do we help the smaller libraries improve while providing the services that are valuable at the big libraries? Our third objective is the shared catalog, and that is huge. And that's not going to take place quickly, but it is something that we're working on. Objective number 4 is determining staff training needs, and that's not just for my staff, which is very small. I have 2 courier drivers, I have a cataloger, and then I have 2 clerks at the Salves Public Library. But determining staff training needs for the district. The district has the advantage of being able to provide services that maybe not each of the libraries could provide. And then the fifth objective is discussions with the city of Yachats for joining the district. And I think that again, as a connector, we want everybody in Lincoln County to be able to have access to all the materials and services in the district. And next slide, please, John. So again, we're district as connector. Nope, we're still.
I don't know what's going on.
I have complete and total confidence, John.
Hang on. Set it right there.
Cool.
Start there and then I'll try to figure it out.
Okay. So our focus area priority number 2 is marketing. And I think that we are one of the best kept secrets in all of Lincoln County. And the last thing in the world that a library wants to be is a best kept secret. So we really need to help people understand what library services are available through the Lincoln County Library District and our partner libraries. What are your tax dollars going for? That is a perennial question. And you know, we have a lot of special districts in Lincoln County. And so there's little kind of dribs and drabs of money going everywhere. And they all have a responsibility to the citizens, which of course we do as well. So we want to increase website usage. And so I want all of you please to just click on that or go to Lincoln, it's lincolncolibradist.org and jack up my website usage so I can tell the board that we've increased that. And then we also wanted to have a recognizable brand. And so we have been spending some time and energy working with a PR person to put together the recognizable brand, which is a lighthouse sitting on a book with books flying away. So anyway, and so number 3, the next slide is focus area priority 3, which is lifelong learning. That's it's kind of one of the basic tenets of librarianship is the lifelong learning and the people's university, if you will. And so, so we want district residents to have access to countywide library programs that foster lifelong learning. Again, we want to work with our partner libraries. We want everybody in Lincoln County to have equitable library service. So we launched our first Lincoln County Reads last February, I think it was. We had Madeline Miller, who wrote Circe. We had her appear, and we got to do that because our Newport Public Library Foundation had been doing a Newport Reads for years, and they invited us to participate. So I want to give a huge shout out to the Newport Library Foundation for including us in that. And so we are starting to plan our 2022 Lincoln County Reads. So we'll be announcing that probably at the first of the year. We also want to work with our partner libraries to provide summer reading programs for youth. So what we've done this summer, because we have not been, we've not been able to do in-person programming, we have the district has provided online programming for the summer. It is not nearly as satisfying as in-person programming, but we're hoping to get back to the in-person programming next year. And then our third objective under lifelong learning is to ask the people in Lincoln County and the Lincoln County Library District, what do you need to help foster lifelong learning. You know, one person may need, you know, how do you start a business? One person may need, how do you write a resume? One person may decide that they're interested in, you know, Greek mythology. So, so that's not something that we've started yet. That's probably something that'll take place in the next year or so. But for years, librarians and libraries love to tell people what they needed. And we're turning that around, I hope, and asking our citizens and our patrons and our users what it is they need and how we can help them achieve that. So that is that's the strategic plan for the Lincoln County Library District. I hope that that gave you a little better understanding of what the district does and why we exist. And if anybody has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. Or if you have questions after the meeting is over or whatever, please feel free to contact me, because one of my personal goals is to, before I retire, is to make sure that everybody in Lincoln County knows that there's a Lincoln County Library District and knows what it is we do. So thank you.
Any questions for MaryKay? Again, like she offered afterwards or later or anytime, she's here, and it's her purpose to make sure that you know what that group does and why they exist. And again, I like that emphasis to reverse the tables, if you will, is you know, let us tell you what we want or need. So that's wonderful. I think that's great. Obviously, and you're no stranger to this, but Rotary's fighting polio. And so for you speaking today, we're going to vaccinate 50 children in your name against polio. So it's certainly an effort that we are so close. So I'm glad that you're able to do that, and we were able to sponsor that and get that done. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Richard.
And just like that, you know, our libraries, many times we may take them for granted or just assume that they'll always be there. But just like they, you know, she mentioned the budget measures, and we had to, you know, do property tax assessments. And so without that, you know, there likely wouldn't be the networks we have. And especially with the current Rotary International president, you know, many of his initiatives are about reading or about literacy or about helping young women or girls, you know, particularly. And so that's something that, you know, I mentioned last week, one of the clubs in Ohio has a program where they're doing books instead of dictionaries. So, you know, it's certainly something I want to work with Sylvia on to get, you know, the next program or get that in place and work with, you know, a complement of MaryKay and Laura Kimberly to, you know, whatever we can do to help their efforts and to get the word out and help people understand or be introduced to Rotary. So thank you for that. Okay, so let's see here. How about the secretary's report?
Absolutely, Richard. Thank you. We'll start with sad trombones for the membership incentive. Lola is not here today, so that's going to roll over again. It's been a while since we've had an actual winner, which took some doing this time because happy Coronet Flourish. We have 2/3 of membership here today. We have 43 out of 60. It's gone up in the past couple of days. 43 out of 65 members are here on the meeting today. And that makes the attendance at today's meeting the best since the end of June. So looks like back to school brings Rotarians back to the meeting as well. And that's great news. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sonia. Hopefully she has the big wheel and we'll be able to see the 50-50.
Thank you, Jim. And yes, I do have the big wheel. We have $65 in the pot today. And let's see, that means the big winner will get $32.50. And that person is going to be Don Barrett.
Yay. Thanks, Sonia. The big wheel certainly adds an element to that. So I like that. And thank you that you've been able to do that.
Thank you.
Hey, Don Marisa. Last week we had done an extra raffle and I forgot to note, or lost my note, but who were the lucky winners of the extra little bronze badge and then the bumper sticker? Do you recall, or Jim, do you have a note of that? Who I need to deliver those to?
I remember Mark Miranda won.
Anybody else recall on that? Now, if you hear or think about it afterwards, let me know and I'll get it delivered or get it to you one way or another. So, all right, yeah, just like Jim mentioned, back to school. So certainly watch out for kiddos walking on crosswalks and things like that, or just more activity of little people. And then it's going to be getting dark here pretty soon, so watch out for that. So, any other last minute announcements?
The social media winner.
Oh yes, John. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll check the video to see who won those bumper sticker. I'll check that tonight.
Thank you.
And I also just I'm at Sun River, so I'm using a different computer. So our usually well-oiled machine wasn't as well-oiled today. So I will link the equity video, the Salve cleanup link will be on there. The library district website will be on there. And then the Don Butch memorial card will also, so that'll be an email coming this afternoon. So just to let you know that. And this week's social media winner is Keith Nelson.
Wonderful. Let me ask, and thank you for all that work, John. That's quite a bit of work that you do, and we certainly are not taking it for granted, and sure appreciate that. Diane, do you know the next week's program and greeters? Do you happen to have that?
I have next week's program, but I have no idea who the greeters are. The next week's program is David Gomberg, State Representative David Gomberg.
Wonderful.
And the greeters for next week are Patty Eisler and Laura Kimberly.
And then again, what we're trying to do is they will be the take us in, take us out, lead the flag salute, lead the 5-way test, those kinds of things to keep an active involvement in that as a greeter. So Jim or Sonia, would the other like to do the 5-way test then for us to take us out?
Well, I think the other would be me, and we're looking at the Pledge of Allegiance, but that's not what we're going to do. So sure, the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And the +1 for the Newport Rotary, is it fun?
All right, guys, have a great week. Thank you. And we'll see you next week. This time, John will send the links out. See you later.